bring in Van Jones. He worked with Prince doing charity work for Rebuild the Dream and Yes We Code. Van, thanks so much for joining us. I know you were close with Prince. It must have been a horrible news for you. What do you think about when you think about your friend?
Well, first of all, the idea of him being a musician is important. Obviously, it was very important to him. But, we spent, infinite amount of time together, and we very rarely talked about music. He's a humanitarian, first and foremost. He's not the kind of friend that was there for you when you don't need him. But if you do need him, he is there 1,000%, and whether you know him or not. There are people right now who have solar panels on their houses in Oakland, California that Prince paid for, and they don't even know it. There are people who are, charities. There are people who are in hospitals right now who, get anonymous gifts. He never wanted anybody to know how much of a humanitarian he was. He's a Jehovah's Witness. They're not supposed to speak about their good works. But this is a guy who cared so much. And when you're talking to him, he's talking about everything in the world. He's talking about Greek philosophy. He's talking about lost cities in Egypt. He's talking about humanity. And also, the other thing is nobody knows about him is, if he had not been a musician at all, he still would have been famous as a stand-up comedian. This dude was the funniest guy. I mean, he would have you literally gonna pee your pants, just unbelievable, all-around human being. Not just a great musician, a great human being at every conceivable level.
And Van, you spoke pretty passionately about Prince's commitment to helping rebuild the dream. Here's a clip of you and Prince talking about your charity work on The View.
Who's joined by two friends helping him make his upcoming shows in Chicago an event with a lasting impression on the Windy City from the ground up. Please welcome an actress you know from films like Men in Black 2 and Rent, Rosario Dawson, and former advisor to President Obama and best-selling author Van Jones. Welcome. Welcome, Rosario and Van. Rosario, I have to say, you give the best hug. She hugs you so tight. You really feel love when Rosario hugs you. But you've known Prince for 14 years. How did that happen?
Blessings, many, many, many blessings.
So that's just a little clip, Van, from your appearance on The View with Prince. What was he like to work with? Because you worked with him.
Yeah, man. Well, first of all, we used to call it riding the purple train, because he was so he's such a genius, and he's so unpredictable. And so you're working with him, and he'll pull these little tricks. He'll say, well, I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to do that. And then he'll go on stage and he'll do everything you want him to do and more. And he just always had this way of getting the best out of people. He was tough, man. We were rehearsing with the band. I mean, he'd work them and work them and work them and work them, and he wouldn't say anything. And then when finally they couldn't get any better, he would just say, I think it's time for us to eat. And that's how you knew he was satisfied. And everybody would be so happy. You don't get an applause. You just get, well, now it's time to eat. And everybody, okay, thank God. And I don't think people understand how much he cared. I mean, he watched the news. I mean, whenever I was on TV, I'm always nervous because I know he's going to give me notes. He's going to give me criticism. He's just this guy who cares so much, and he used his music. But the song on the stage was just a part of the song of his life. Everywhere he went, he brought that genius. He brought that excellence. He brought that care, and he brought that mystery. I can't believe I've talked about him in the past tense.
Yeah, that must be awful. You and I are roughly the same age. We're in our 40s, a little bit younger than Prince. I think of Prince almost as a post-racial singer in a way, just because his first album, 1984, I was 15. This was the 80s. I didn't think of him as a black singer. I just thought of him as an amazing singer, one way or the other. But I know that the African-American community was so important to him.
Yeah, I don't. That's the one thing I think that is so key to him. We used to talk about, John Henry Clark and like I said, Egyptian philosophy, and he really cared. He believed in the Black Lives Matter kids so much, and he had a dream for them. He said, I hope that they become an economic force. I hope that they use their genius to start businesses and to be creative. And when he decided to go to Baltimore, he stood on that stage and he said, when I come back to Baltimore, I want to stay in a hotel that you young people have created. I want to go to a restaurant that you young people have created. He really believed, because he was so young, 17 years old. And when he first got started, he really believed that the young people could change the world. And he thought about that. We started Yes We Code because of Trayvon Martin. Everybody's marching and protesting about Trayvon Martin. Prince said, no, listen, a black kid wearing a hoodie might be seen as a thug. A white kid wearing a hoodie might be seen as a Silicon Valley genius. Let's teach the black kids how to be like Mark Zuckerberg. And out of that observation, we built a whole organization. And there's so many things about him that the world didn't know because of his religion. He could not speak publicly about his concern for poor people, for struggling people, and for the African-American community.
And he was so devout as a Jehovah's Witness. You clearly have so many Prince stories. It's almost unfair for me to ask you this, Van, but do you have a favorite memory of Prince?
Well, I think my favorite memory was the kind of person that Prince was. He was never, ever there for you when you did not need him. If you did not need Prince, if you were fine, if you were having a good day, you weren't going to hear from Prince. But if you had a bad day, if something went wrong, he was there 1,000%. And celebrity after celebrity and person after person will tell you that. He doesn't call you when things are going well. He calls you when the media is beating you up. He calls you when you are down on your luck. And my favorite memory, when I left the White House, it was such a tough situation. And I left the White House, and he had me come over to his house. And he told me something that changed my life. He said, people who fight for justice, you're going to have worse days than this. But what I want you to do, he said, go to Jerusalem. He said, stay there for a couple weeks and pray. He said, and then when you come back, take a blank piece of paper and just write down everything you think should happen, and I'll help you make it happen. Now, I'm at the bottom. I'm like Mr. Toxic. Nobody in D.C. will even look me in the eye. And here's Prince, who, nobody. Obviously people in the White House love me, but a lot of people didn't love me. And, and here he is saying, hey, look, you're going to have a future. And matter of fact, go pray. And when you come back, write on a blank piece of paper anything you think should happen in America, and I will help you do it. And he did. And he did. So this is a man so much more than his music. The music is an expression of a genius that is so deep and so profound that only music could capture it and express it. But it's so much more than the music, so much more.
All right, Van Jones, my deepest condolences on the loss of your friend. Thanks for joining us.